Say good morning and thank you for joining the class. Today we are going to be painting some small abstracts. So this is going to be a really fun class.
Mhm. Mhm.
I am going to share my workspace. All right, can you all see that?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Cool.
So we're going to be painting abstracts. Now I have two here, and these are approximately 5 by 7. Like I said, when I sent out the supply list, you can use whatever sizes you want today. This is going to be a more, um, playing around, experimental, um, not trying to get to perfection sort of painting class, which I think is going to be really fun. Um, And so I'm going to be painting on same size, 5 by 7, just so I can fit both of them on my workspace and so that you can see them. And it's kind of a nice little size, to have finished pieces this size. You can mat these in either 8 by 10 mats, or there are actually 11 by 14 mats that with 5 by 7 openings. So I think these kind of lend themselves to either one of those matting and framing options. And, you end up with a nice little set of abstract work. So I'm going to go over the supplies here. Like I said, I've got two 5 by 7 pieces of watercolor paper. Feel free to, paint on some different sizes, what you have there. I'm using the Strathmore Ready Cut watercolor. This is a cold press paper, 140 pound. It's got a kind of a smoother surface than like the arches that I normally paint on. This was the arches. Um, a little bit smoother surface, I think, lends itself to like the ink work that we're going to be doing. We're going to be adding some ink details, but whatever paper you have there is fine. As I mentioned, even like a hot press would be fun to experiment with for these paintings. So if you have some of that, feel free to use it. We're just going to be using number 6 round brush, or if you have anything similar size, if you want to try an 8 or something like that, feel free. I mean, you could even use your flat brush if you have that and you want to do a little bit more like geometric, um, hard shapes. You could do that. I used my Sharpie pen for the details. So if you have any sort of black felt tip pen, it doesn't necessarily have to be waterproof in this example, but whenever I'm doing watercolors, I like to use a waterproof pen, and these Sharpie pens are waterproof. Also got a ruler here. So I did draw some straight lines, and I did use the ruler for that, just to get some really, really nice straight lines. So if you have one of those, it would be handy. Got my palette. So we're going to kind of limit our palette today, and you can choose 3 or so colors that you'd like to play around with. I used burnt sienna. um, this is a permanent carmine, and I think I mixed a little bit of burnt sienna into it to give it this kind of muted color. And then I've got a Payne's gray, and I may have added a little bit of burnt sienna into that too. But if you want to play around with like 3 different colors that are different, that's totally fine too. I just kind of like to coordinate the colors between, like if I'm doing a series of pieces, I like to coordinate the colors. So that's sort of what I did for the example. And I'll probably do something similar for the class demo. I've got some paper towels here underneath my palette. I've got my water container over here on the right-hand side. You can't see that. And also a spray bottle. And And I think that's it. Now, you could, if you wanted to, stretch your paper with some painter's tape. I did put that on the list. If it bothers you that it's going to maybe buckle a little bit, these I did not stretch. And so they are, they're a little bit buckled. You can always, flatten those out later. Sometimes they'll just flatten out underneath the mat. So I didn't stretch these because I wanted to be able to turn them. So it's up to you. You can stretch them to your board if you have the small one and turn the whole board, or just leave them unstretched and just sort of play around with it. So up to you on that. Any questions about the supplies?
Oh, all good.
Okay, so first, I want to talk a little bit about just some basic concepts of abstract painting because we haven't really talked about this in any of the classes. We did one the abstract landscape, but I didn't talk about sort of what goes into abstract painting during that one. We just kind of dove into the painting. So abstract painting. Um, so according to Collins English Dictionary, I looked this up, by the way. What is abstract? Abstract, an abstract idea or way of thinking based on general ideas rather than real things. So that's going to be a big difference in what we do today. We're going to focus on sort of ideas rather than real things. So we've been painting a lot of real things, which is great. Um, but like I said, it's kind of good to get it out of your own head a little bit. I think, with creativity and art. So watercolor, this could be translated to a way of painting based on general shapes or patterns rather than real representation of things. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, I was inspired by shells for these shapes and okay, loosely the colors. Obviously, these shells are like, mostly white, but you do have some of these like kind of bluish colors and um, different patterns and lines in shells. So last time I was in Hawaii, I picked these. I love to pick shells out of the sand. And it's just fun to sort of look at the shapes and the patterns. And like there's this little stick and it had like these really cool, like somebody drew on it with a pen, but it's just like
Uh-huh.
part of the actual stick, and I'm like, "Oh, that would be really cool to have, like, shapes and, like, little pen, like, details." So I
Mhm.
was kind of inspired by these shells for these paintings. But instead of painting the actual shells, just use it as inspiration. So, abstract art is art that doesn't attempt to represent an accurate depiction of a visual reality, but instead uses shapes, colors, textures. So, I've got some spattering, I've got some backwashing in here, some little brush strokes here, forms, gestural marks such as lines. So, I added these lines in there for sort of movement, um, and then space. So we want to be aware of the space around the objects, make sure our composition is balanced. One way I learned to do that was to turn your painting upside down. And actually, this painting, when I was doing it, it started this way. So I painted it, got through all the painting with it this way rather than this way. And then when I started to add the lines, I accidentally turned it over and I was like, wow, it works so much better this way.
So it really does.
Yeah. So we're going to do that when we're painting today. We're going to turn our paper if you don't have it stretched and just, if it looks balanced when it's upside down as well as right side up, then you've got a
Mhm.
balanced composition. So we're going to do that. So to do this, we can use colors and textures and all those artistic elements we just talked about to create a balanced composition from those elements. So there are two types of abstract techniques that watercolor artists use, and I'm sure there are more than just two, but the two that I was sort of researching were um, geometric and non-realistic. So geometric would be not trying to represent anything real, but rather experiment with different colors, textures, shapes, and values, which is what we're doing today. And then non-realistic could be a depiction of an actual scene. So if you think back to when we did if you were in the watercolor abstract landscape class, we were
Mhm.
trying to depict an actual scene um, using abstract shapes, forms, and colors. So that's sort of what we did here. And as you learned in that class, it's possible to suggest or depict a scene or an object without adding realistic detail. Now, we added some little details, but only enough to let the viewer know that that is a landscape, right?
Yes,
So,
that's my son's favorite painting that I've done.
well, that's great. That
Yeah,
was a really fun class. I really, really liked that one.
yeah, he loves it as well.
I used it to make 2 cards, one each for my son and my husband for Father's Day because they've been going
Oh,
fishing
that's
together.
great. That's perfect.
And it was Hag Lake at the bottom. Looked like a swimming pool.
Mm,
Imaginary Hag Lake.
nice.
All
That's
blue.
really great.
Fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to actually painting. So we're not going to do any drawing other than adding our lines. I am going to try to put these up above here so we can see them. Now, we're not going to try to paint these exactly. And I know that's going to be a challenge for us.
I had my pencil all ready to sketch it out.
Now, it's totally fine if you want to paint exactly what I'm painting, but I would also encourage you to, you know, play with your own shapes and designs. So, um, the process we're going to follow for these is we are going to paint in these larger shapes first, and we're going to choose 3 colors and sort of do kind of a wet and wet. We're going to start with some light mixtures of these colors and maybe drop in some darker colors like I've done here. Maybe let some of our shapes touch each other. Maybe mix some of the other colors into each shape. And then um, now I almost asked you to bring a hair dryer, but I remembered that Cinnamon didn't have one. So we're going to try to do this without a hair dryer.
You know what? If you mentioned it, I would get a hair dryer too.
Oh, well, we'll try to do it without a hair dryer.
Your class, I have a fan behind me, so
Well,
I can turn it on.
that's good. So it'll
got one.
dry quick.
Yeah.
It's warm, so it's not a whole lot of paint that we're going to be putting on here. So we'll do our bigger shapes and probably do one at a time, one painting at a time, and then we'll go in while those are drying, and we'll add some of these lines that aren't touching the shapes. And then when these shapes are dry, we might add some pen details here. And then at the end, I added some spattering, so we can do that. When I did this, I sort of did it in phases where, I painted the shapes, walked away, came back when it was dry, but I think we're going to be fine as far as that goes. If we need some drying time, we can have a class discussion. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my paints here. So choose some colors. I'm going to use, I might use the same colors. Some Payne's Gray. I've got a permanent carmine here and a burnt sienna. And I'm almost out of my permanent carmine. So I went to the art supply store and they didn't have that color. So I got alizarin crimson, but I'm not quite ready to commit to that yet. To my palette. So when this one is all gone, then I'll do that. Okay, so I'm going to pull some of this out into my mixing area. And like I said, we kind of want to start really watery. And if you have, I got a suggestion from someone last time that I should be doing this. If you have a piece of scrap watercolor paper, I'm just going to use, oh yeah, actually I have one right here. That I should be testing these while I'm doing it so that you can see what the values are. So I'm just going to pull out a nice big kind of watery puddle of this. This is still too dark. If we want to expedite this, we can actually spray into our mixing area. I'll pull that over so you can see it better. And I kind of want enough. Well, we can remix if we need to. I was going to say enough for both paintings, but if we stick to some basic colors where we haven't mixed anything. So this time I'm not going to mix in the burnt sienna with the carmine. If you want to use a different red or, like I said, any other different colors, feel free to do that. Okay, so I've got that mixed, and let me test this so you can see the intensity. So you can see it's pretty watery, which is exactly what I'm going for here. Kind of watery.
The colors are easier to see now.
Oh, good. Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for. Makes a big difference, I think. Just going to spray some water in there. So now I'm mixing the burnt sienna with some water. And again, I'm going for kind of a lighter mix here. Let me test that. That's pretty good. So this is what I have here, pretty watery, which is great. Kind of going for that sort of sea glass. I guess that's what I'm thinking of when I look at those colors, like a sea glass sort of look that we can add darker colors into. And then let's do the same thing with our Payne's gray. Now you could use a blue if you wanted, or add a little bit of blue to it. I think I'll just stick with this color for now. That's probably still going to be pretty dark. I'm just spraying directly into my mixing area there. I'll test that. Oh, that's perfect. If I had a little bit more blue in there, it could look like kind of sea glass like, but I kind of like that gray. So those are my starting colors, which I really, really like. So now, when you guys are ready, we can start sort of figuring out what we want our painting to look like. So for these, like I said, I did a lot of circles. I've got this sort of oblong thing, and that was inspired by this little stick. And there was another shell in here that I saw. It's kind of like this one kind of inspired that, you know, kind of like a soft oblong shape. So I'm going to kind of stick to those types of shapes. Now we could start with just plain water, but I think it's kind of hard if you haven't drawn a boundary to do that. So that's why I'm starting with these lighter mixes of colors. So I'm going to start on this side over here and sort of paint in that weird oblong shape. So I'm just going to like dive right in here, and I'm just going to paint kind of a nice shape here. So we're at this point, I'm going to dip my brush in a little bit of water here. It's going to be different than that painting, which is fine. Got kind of a nice little oblong shape here. So I'm thinking of this in terms of shapes, balance, and composition. So we're trying to fill in the space with some nice shapes and textures and colors. So I'm just sort of like not planning ahead here other than looking at the example. And now I think I'm going to add a little bit darker red sort of on these edges like I did before. I'm just going to dip my brush right in the red, maybe just drop some in there, maybe there and there. Now I also added a little backwashing. So if you remember, that can be achieved by just washing our brush here. And I just blotted it a little bit. And now I'm going to dip my brush directly in the water. So I'm kind of doing this. I'll hold the water over here so you can see I'm just like dipping it down into the water. So I've got kind of a big droplet of water, and then I'm just going to touch it to the wet paint. And it makes the pigment go away from that water. So it's kind of a cool effect. So I think this is a really, really nice shape. I'm really liking that.
That's a new technique. That's good. That's a new one.
Yeah, and traditionally that backwashing has been undesirable because it can, it can be a mistake, but we're using it as a technique on purpose. So that makes it really cool. Carol Grigg, I don't know if you've seen Carol Grigg's artwork. She does a lot of American Indian, Native American type themes. Beautiful watercolor. She's famous for using that backwashing technique as part of the composition.
Carol Grigg,
Grigg. She's from this area somewhere.
Excuse me.
Grigg.
Yeah, I have some prints of hers. I'll try to remember to bring them to one of the classes so I can show that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to continue on here, and I'm going to paint this this larger. I'm going to paint a larger circle. It might be a little bit different shape than the one I painted in that previous painting. And I'm not going to worry about this still being kind of wet. If it bleeds into it, that's fine. So I'm going to use some of this Payne's Gray mix that I've got. And I'm just still looking at the space here. So it's really going to depend on what you have sort of going on in your painting, where you want to place this exactly. It's looking like for me, this is going to end up being a little bit smaller than the example, but I'm just going to I'm going to overlap onto that other shape. And depending on how wet or dry your other shape is, it could either bleed into it or it could do like a glazing effect, which is what mine is doing. Mine's already dry on that side. And then I think, now I put red up here, but I'm seeing when I'm looking at it now, I want a little bit of red down there. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of red out of my palette, and I'm just going to tap it in there. So it's kind of, that red is like going to flow sort of through. I'm seeing this composition over here. I think whatever shape I put down here, I'm going to do that too. Now on this one, I did leave some space here. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but if you're thinking about your lines, how you want them to move through the composition, you might take that into account when you're adding your last shape down here. I'm going to do 3 shapes on this side. I kind of like to do odd numbers of shapes rather than even numbers. I don't know why, but so I'm going to do 3 on this side and 5. Oh, I did 6 on this side. Well, I stand corrected. I just contradicted myself. So 6 and 3, that works. It just ended up that way. But anyway, I'm going to do 3 on this side. And if you want your lines, the pen lines to sort of flow through, you just take that into account when you're adding that shape to leave some space there. So I'm going to use the burnt sienna. And I'm just looking at my painting, and I think it's actually not going to be a circle. I'm going to paint sort of, I don't know, an egg shaped shape. I just feel like it's going to fit better in this spot. So depending on your other shapes, you might have a circle here or maybe this little funny shape. It's kind of like this shell right here. And then I think on this one, I added some of the Payne's gray. I might add both Payne's gray and some red just to carry both of those colors through the painting. So I'm going to dip my brush in this Payne's gray and just sort of tap it there. And I'm going to grab some red too. So I'm just dipping my brush directly into the red here. And I'm seeing some red down here, I think. So at this point, it might be a good time to check the balance of our painting. So I'm going to turn this around, and I think that's working. Now, if anything felt like off balance at this point, you could add some more shapes in different places to balance it out. But mine, this is upside down, and I think it's looking pretty balanced. I like the space. So these are the kinds of things I'm thinking about with the abstract painting. How are you guys feeling about it? How's it going?
I'm fixing it.
Balancing it out.
I turned it. Yes. Oh, yes. I'm balancing it out.
Yeah.
I turned it. It almost looked obscene. So big, yes.
But it's fun, isn't it?
Yes,
It's fun
it
to
is.
like not have to try to make it look like something. I think that's what I like most about it. Because we try so hard to make our other artwork look like the thing, right? We
Oh, yeah.
do.
Guilty.
Kind of release control.
Yeah.
I was inspired by the fact that you displayed your two next to each other. And I'm thinking I'd like to mat the two of these together in a slightly larger frame.
Oh, that would be nice.
There was a suggestion last Christmas when I only had 2 days to, it was very hysterical. My son said, well, my girlfriend likes abstract art. You could just sort of learn, this is Friday, you could just sort of learn how to do it, Mom, couldn't you? I said, not by Monday, no. But maybe for next year Christmas. So maybe
Yeah.
this is my next year Christmas.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to let that one dry over here. And we'll move on to this side. So we're going to be using the same colors so we can sort of tie these two together. And I'm going to start with the largest shape here just because it's going to take up the most space, and then we'll just sort of build around it. So for this one, I used the burnt sienna. I think I put a tiny bit of Payne's gray up there, which I think I want to do because I want to tie it all together like I did with this one. I really like how this is turning out and blending together. So I'm just gonna, I need just a little bit more here in my mixing area. I'm just gonna test it to make sure that I've got a similar mix as my first one, which that looks pretty good. Okay, so this one, it's kind of angled a little bit. I kind of like that. We could do that, or we could do something different. I'll probably just stick with that same concept over here. The other thing about this is, you know, you might have an idea in your head about what you're going to paint, and then as you're painting it, it turns into something else. Like I'm just seeing, like, I kind of like it a little bit smaller down towards the bottom. So I've got my shape there. I like that. I like the space around it. These are the things I'm looking at. I'm going to add a little bit of Payne's gray up at the top. So I'm just going to dip my brush in there. And I think that's what I'm going to do there. And let that blend together. It's interesting for me to see this in person and then look at the video. It's kind of like when you take a picture of your artwork. I don't know if you do
Yeah.
that on a regular basis, but you get a different perspective, I think, than when you're just looking at the real artwork. It's like you can, for some reason, I feel like I can see the balance and composition better when I've taken a picture of it and then look at the picture. And I'm seeing the same thing sort of in the video, where you can kind of like focus too much on the real thing, but then when you kind of see it in a different context, you maybe see it differently. It's kind of like when you mat your artwork and frame it, you know, all of a
I
sudden it's in a different context and it looks different.
I agree with you.
Usually better, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I had to photograph all of my work for another class because we
Mm-hmm.
shared it with Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I would actually repaint what I painted because I'd look at the photograph and go, "Oh wow, this is this." It kind of takes you away from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a fun
a good thing to
to
do.
do. Yeah. So I'm going to continue down. I think I'm going to kind of go counterclockwise here. I'm going to add a couple shapes down here with my red, light red, kind of pinkish. And I'm going to touch this shape, and I'll probably touch these two shapes together. So, and again, I'm sort of looking at the paper and the space around the shapes when I'm doing this to sort of gauge where do I want this to be. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to, this one, I think I'm actually going to touch some burnt sienna here with my paintbrush and just add a little bit of that to that one. And I'm going to do another, so that's a circle. I'm going to do another circle down here, kind of like I did in the demo, and I just connected it to the other one. And maybe add a darker red in this one. Then I'm just going to continue around here. I'm going to add some shapes using Payne's gray. Now I just noticed that I'm like kind of like right next to that one. So I'm going to make this one a little bit not totally round. I'm going to have it kind of oval just to make it a little bit different than that other circle. And a couple more here. Or, you know, maybe only two more. Maybe only this other one more. I think I'm going to turn my, actually, before I do that, I want to add some color to this, and it's drying really, really fast. So I'm going to add some, maybe burnt sienna to that one. I think my other one's already dry. It is. I could maybe, oh, I'm going to add a backwash maybe to that one. Maybe it's not. Nope, it's just a drop of water on the top. I'll add a backwash to this one still wet. Now, I think at this point, before I add any more, I'm going to turn my paper to see where I'm at here. And yeah, I still feel like I need something up here. I'm going to add a smaller circle. So maybe since I didn't get any other color in here, this will be the one where I add like more pen detail like I did on this one. So I think I'm just going to add a smaller circle right there. And on this one, I'm going to add a little bit of red. Like that. Oh, that's nice. I'll turn that now. Yeah, I think that's balanced. I probably would have liked, well, I don't know. I was going to say, I would have liked for these to all be like sort of in the same area of the paper as this one, but if I would have planned it out more, I think once we add the lines, it's going to balance the two. And obviously these are super simple abstracts, but I think it's good to start simple. We're not doing anything super complicated.
Oh yeah.
For us, right? This is our speed.
Exactly.
Dip our toes into the water of abstract painting.
Pretty good dip.
This is looking pretty good over here. As far as being dry, that's good. Probably yours is the same way. All right, how's it going over there on the second one?
Good.
Pretty
Good.
good, catching up with the gray.
Okay, we'll take a few more minutes.
Well, thank you.
Could use salt too, would make great
Mhm.
texture in this. I didn't want to get it like, sometimes it's like if you use too many techniques in one painting, it kind of goes overboard. So I didn't want to get too many techniques going. I thought it would be fun to do another class using like the flat brush and do like a lot of geometric shapes. I'll have to like work that one out.
You know, I spent 2 days teaching myself how to do 2-point perspective. I saw
Ooh.
how to use it in a painting.
Uh-huh.
I actually took the koi fish
Mm-hmm.
and put his head in the box.
Oh, cool.
I'll show it to you.
Yeah, I'd like to
Yeah,
see it.
it was really a lot of fun.
Oh, nice.
Because this lady does everything is pretty geometric.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't really realize, I just kept thinking, how did you get those shapes? How could you draw
Mm-hmm.
so well? And then somebody in the class mentioned it was 2-point perspective. So I Googled it
Mm-hmm.
and I love that little skill.
Huh. That sounds like fun.
It was fun, a lot of fun. I just made up my own thing. Can you see me?
Oh yeah. Oh, that is so
Oh,
cool.
oh my goodness. That's very cool.
Yeah.
I cut it in half because the rest of the painting was, I messed up.
Uh-huh.
I saved this part because I thought I'm going to do more with that.
Well, and what a great idea to like use a painting that, maybe you weren't 100% on, use it to learn something else.
Yeah, yeah. I actually have a sketch of the koi with all the boxes drawn all around it.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't decided what to paint it now
Mm,
or how to paint it.
how fun.
I took the wreath that we did earlier in the spring and cut apart all the roses because they weren't in a good proportion with each other.
Uh-huh.
I put those cutouts on cards and sent
Oh,
those to
fun.
Martha.
Like a
But now,
collage type thing.
you know what? I have no reference whatsoever in my email about how to do that class. I've
Hmm.
lost. Can you send it again, please?
Sure.
I've lost the
Yeah.
directions of what it ever
Mm-hmm.
looked like because I
Yeah,
cut it up.
for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we are ready to move on.
Yeah.
Make some
Good.
lines here. So I'm going to set this guy aside. We're going to start with this one. So I think I want to do these straight lines first. And you can do whatever lines you would like to do on this, obviously. Um, so feel free to play around. I did some straight lines and some curved lines, just to sort of mix it up. Um, so if you can see here, I have, I don't know, I just did like an inch worth of lines here, but they're kind of different widths
Mhm,
from each other.
mhm.
So that's going to be what I'm going to demonstrate here. So I'm actually going to turn this. I think this is the point where my other painting ended up upside down. But I'm just going to start at a place where I'm kind of going behind these shapes. So it's going to really depend on, what your um, how your shapes are interacting with each other and where they are in the composition. But I'm going to start just a little ways down from where the shapes start. And on this one, I just went behind the shapes and it skipped over. Another thing you could do to experiment would be to go over one of the shapes and behind another shape. So think about that. I'm going to go just behind them. So I'm going to take my pen here
Mm.
and I'm just going to go for it. I
Oh,
encourage you to just go for it. And then, so I'm just going right up to that shape and I'm going to skip over it. And then I'm going to go in between those shapes and I'm going to continue over to the other side. So there's my first line. Now I'm just going to do a few more lines. It would look like I've got 7 or so lines on the other one. And it's really going to be up to, you know, you and the composition here, how far apart you want the shapes to be. I'm going to do the second line kind of close to the first one, just because this little corner in here, I want another line. And then one maybe a little further down. I'm not measuring here, I'm just sort of eyeballing it. So I think it's good. This is good for us. So that's looking good. So, you know, you can just sort of take a look at it to see, you know, how many more lines you might want. I'm going to do another one. About right there. Looks good to me. Maybe another one that's sort of closer. And it's up to you, like how much space you want to leave between the shape and the line. I am leaving a little bit of space. On the other one, I didn't leave as much space. So it's kind of like up to you how you want that to look. And I'm just noticing mine isn't like completely straight with the paper, but that's okay. When you mat it, you know, you can turn it a little bit to straighten it out. This is like, we don't want to get too hung up on that right now. So I'm going to add maybe just a couple more. Maybe another one that's like close to that line. We were talking about storing paintings. One of the last classes.
yeah.
Definitely recommend matting your paintings, the ones you want to keep. Just because, in my own personal experience, if you don't, they tend to just sit in a drawer. You know, it's
Yeah.
like if you mat them, you might actually do something with them. So I'm thinking that looks pretty good. And yeah, I know it's crooked, but it's okay. Take another minute on that, and then we'll, I think, go over here and do our straight lines. Mine's pretty dry, so I don't think I'm going to have any problem. Okay, so I'm going to start on the other one. I'll put this up here for now. And this time I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, I'm going to line my ruler up with the edge of the paper. And that's where I'm going to start my lines. So then I can attempt for some straighter lines. So I'm just going to go along this side where I have these circles. I'm just going to do the same thing. I'll probably add the same number of lines as I added to this one. I've got 7 lines. So that looks good. That's a really good starting point as far as like balance. That looks good. So I'm just going to keep, actually, I'm going to turn the paper this way now that I have my starting line. And again, just sort of gauge where I want the additional lines to be based on the placement of my other shapes. I'm just sort of looking at it as I go. Maybe do another one that's kind of closer here. Looks good. Now I'm coming up on this shape, so I've got a decision to make. Do I want the line to be like close to that or not? I think I'm gonna stay away from that shape just a little bit. Then I definitely want it to be next line to go behind it. So I'm gonna make that line a little bit further away than the other ones. So I've got like 5 lines there. Okay, so now I've got another shape that's getting close to my line. So I'm going to plan for the next line to sort of go behind that one. So it's kind of like looking at the space around each shape and how you want to incorporate these different elements. And then I think I'm going to do one more that's closer to that line. Really trying to not get my head underneath the camera. There. And just do sort of a double check on my composition. That looks good. See, that one could go either way, I think. I almost kind of like it better that way. Not sure. How about this one? Yeah, I still like this one better that way. I don't know. I'm changing my mind on that one. I think this one is going to go that way now. Just happened.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yes. It had to change direction.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, then these two guys are kind of two the same. So maybe not. See, this is my thought process. I could go that way, but I don't like that one that way. So take a look at yours and see what you like the best. This one's, maybe I'll just leave it this way, I think. I'm just looking at the two together This one by itself, definitely, I kind of like it better that way. But then when you put the two together, I kind of like them better this way.
Put the, wait a minute, put it the way you like it, and then put the other one on the other side of it. Switch places with them.
Oh, okay. Let's see. And then go like that. That might
Well,
work, actually.
whatever.
I like that. Send in. That's kind of speaking to me. Yeah,
Cool.
maybe. I think it works. I think that's what it's going to be. I kind of feel like I need something down here though. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll wait till I get all the lines on there and the spatters.
There you go.
Yeah. So I mean, isn't this fun? It's a fun process because you can just like keep like switching it around, you know, keep playing with it. Oh, what is my
I
phone?
did a totally different thing than you did.
Ooh, love the colors.
It's
Yeah.
a split complementary color chart.
Yes. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah, the paints were sitting here. I thought, oh, I'm just gonna lose my mind. I mean, lose control.
Give up control.
Give up control.
Yeah, nice, BJ. I can see that. You're muted
Well,
though.
let's see. Wait, I didn't see it. Oh, I can't see her. Or yeah.
Yeah, your painting's kind of down in the corner. There we go. Now we can see
I
it.
mean, I can't see her at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You can't see
I've
BJ.
got my lines went across my circles because I was trying to listen and draw and write and change and pull
Well, that's
pull
okay.
tape, and
That's okay.
so I had to draw a few other lines on top of my
Yours is
circle.
just doing that, you know?
It is. Oh yeah, it's doing.
Okay, so now
Excuse me.
we're going to draw these curved lines in. And on this example, I didn't plan for these curved lines to sort of go into each other because like I said, it was this way before. But I kind of like how that happened, how it's kind of like flowing from one painting to the other. So that's sort of an option that you have.
Oh yeah, if you could mount them together. Yeah.
Yeah. So on mine, I could do that going sort of up this way. So I'm just going to kind of go for it. I'm going to do some curved lines here. So all I did was sort of start with one curved line to sort of indicate the movement that I wanted. So I kind of wanted it to go up and around this and then up that way. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just, and I could do it. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to start down here. And then on this one, I think I'm going to kind of go over this way. I'm just seeing the movement kind of that way when I'm looking at it in my head. So I'm just going to start down here, maybe follow this shape around, go like that. I kind of like that.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to add some lines. And what I like to do, I do this when I do my pen and ink drawings. I like to kind of have lines that are like far away from each other, and then they kind of get closer, and then they kind of get far away. I just like that kind of movement. But you could totally do evenly, spaced lines if you like that sort of look and movement as well. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start and have them kind of get further and then closer and then further. I'm going to put this guy up here for now so I can turn this. So you might want to turn your paper if it's easier for you. And actually, I'm going to do another one that's up here, and it's going to come pretty close here. And I find I have a little more control when I move my whole arm and wrist. Then like on this line here, it got a little wiggly because I was trying to use just my fingers to do that. So if you have trouble getting your lines smooth, you might just try moving your whole arm and wrist. You can always go back in and sort of smooth them out a little bit. And then, of course, you have the decision to make about how many lines you want. I think I'm going to add one more. Got 4 so far. So, and then, of course, you can make your lines thicker or thinner in different places. I've got some wiggly lines here, so I think I'm going to sort of thicken them up as they get to the middle here, just to sort of smooth these out a little bit. And that gives a little bit of depth to your lines also, so they aren't just sort of one-dimensional. I'm just thickening. Now I'm doing something that I was told to not do in college. I probably have mentioned it before, which is touching my painting with my hands. If you wanted to get real, you know, technical or protective of your paintings, the best thing to do would be to put a piece of paper over your painting so you don't get your finger oils on it. I think pen drawing is another really, really great way to sort of get out of your head. If you can make yourself draw with a pen freehand without sketching first, because there's no going back once you put that line down. But you can always change it. You know, you can always add to it, make it thinner or thicker. When I go on vacation, I love to do pen drawings. I like to take photos and then do pen drawings on the airplane in my sketchbook. It just started by accident once, and then I got hooked on it. Okay, I'm thinking that looks really
Good.
nice. I like that. I'm gonna turn this way to see. I think that still works. You know, we still have spatters to add. So like at this point, if you're feeling like something's not completely balanced, that could be a place where we add more spatters. So I think when I'm looking at mine, it's a little heavy up here maybe. And so I'm going to focus my spatters kind of down in this area. But I really like how, like I've got this darkness of the watercolor here, and it's kind of like tying into that darkness of the pen. The other thing you could do is you could darken up your lines, your straight lines if you wanted to. I don't think I'm going to touch mine because straight lines are tricky.
They're tricky just to get them straight lines.
Exactly. Exactly.
Even with a ruler.
Yeah.
I've gone back over mine and I don't recommend it.
Okay, so I'm going to continue on here and sort of decide where I want the lines. I'm seeing lines up here. So what I want to do is, like I said, I want to draw one line that's going to sort of guide me into doing the other line. So I kind of like how this is flowing up, and I want to continue on over here, I think. So I'm going to do kind of a similar shape, I think, as I did down here. And I'm going to start here. I'm just going to go for it. And maybe bring that up like that. I like that. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this guy aside. I'm going to turn this over so I can draw this a little bit easier. Now that I have my line that indicates the movement I want, I can just add to it. So I'm going to add another one down here. Kind of close to my shape, but that's okay. Obviously, some of these lines on the edge are going to be covered up if you mat these, but that's okay. So I'm going to add a few more lines here. Doing the same kind of thing I did on the other one. Yeah, make this one a little bit closer. And maybe one more line. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I kind of like that. That's good. Then I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other one, where I'm just going to thicken up some of these. Like I've got a little, like I don't like when my lines kind of like you can see like an overlap where I've done two passes. So I'm just going to make these thicker and smooth those out. Okay. And then just check my composition on this one. I think I'm going to end up with the same thing. Like it's a little bit heavy down here. So I'll compensate by putting more spatters sort of down towards the bottom on that one. So spatters more up here on this one and more towards the bottom on that one. Now you could also add, more shapes. You could just do like some ad hoc pen shapes. I kind of did that on this one. I needed a little bit more in this corner, so I just added a little bit more to that one. The other thing we can do is add some pen details right inside our shapes. And I was going to do that on this one. So I'll start with that one. And I just added some circles here. I kind of like that. So I'm just going to kind of loosely outline this. I'm kind of going outside of it a little bit. Maybe right inside. Maybe add one more line in between those two. That. It's nice. And that adds a little bit more balance. Maybe the same thing over here. So I'm just sort of looking at this one now. I had added the pen like in this area, but I think I'm going to do something different over here. And I'm trying to decide what that is. Maybe I outline, add some details here. I think that would be good. So you'll just have to look at your shapes. Maybe pick one or two where you want to add some pen. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna outline this thing. I'm gonna put a line here. Maybe I'm gonna go outside this shape just a tiny bit. This is gonna take on a life of its own, I feel like. And it might add just that little bit more balance that I need down here. Maybe I just kind of add a few more lines like this. So just play around with it, really. Yeah. You could even add like another circle in there. With some more lines. See, it's taking on a life of its own. I'm just going to even out these lines here. Darken these a little tiny bit just to even them out. And that looks pretty good. I'll turn that over and see how it looks. Kind of on the fence about it. Well, once I add the spatters, I'll know.
Yes.
I feel like I need something up here. This is the part where you kind of have to like
Remember the kiss rule?
start to step away from the painting.
I know sometimes you just keep adding and adding and adding.
Yeah.
And then it's like, whoops.
Yeah. Now, if I keep doing this on this one, I'm going to have to add something over here. See, that's the problem.
Yes.
Okay, I'll stop.
Okay. Then I will too. I've definitely gone over the edge.
Yes.
I had to fix my lines by putting some on the other page across, and I don't like where I put one of them. Oh well, it's practice then. It's not. We're not matting this one, unless I think of something else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not unhappy with what I have.
That's good.
I've got this line, too much of it going across here. And
I can't see yours, BJ.
And I'm not grooving on it. because I was trying to match the fact that I made a mistake over here. I don't know how to do the light, so it's there. Yeah, I've got this one line down here and it kind of worked. And the other one I don't like where I placed it. It's too much in the middle of a big circle.
Oh,
It just, okay. There, no.
yeah, it's kind of hard to see.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so I've
like we
got
said,
this
we're just playing around.
one line. Oh, this was my finished product.
Yeah.
You know me.
Here we go. This is where I went.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
good.
Really
You can see
nice.
mine, BJ. I can't see you, BJ.
Oh, did you put it on side-by-side gallery?
Oh no, that's my problem.
Yeah, I
Let's-
finally had to go back and do that. Oh, do
there
I do
we-
it again?
oh, there we go. Okay, so this is the one that I thought I kind of screwed up, but oh, you can't hold
All
the
right.
whole thing.
It's
Anyway,
good.
I'm going that way,
Yeah.
and then here's the other one.
Oh, nice colors.
I like this one. Yeah,
Yeah.
the other one is kind of like, well, maybe I might do that over again. That'll make good test sheets.
Yeah, so what I did send in was when I tried to replicate the fact that I by mistake drew a line across these, which are little, then I went back and drew a line, but I've got one right through the middle of a big circle, and I'm not liking it. It
Not
just
like-
looks like, I cut it. I'll keep thinking.
Well, at least we have learned
I've learned
learn,
a technique.
learn.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now do over.
Yeah.
I feel like I could do another one on my own.
Yeah.
Good.
I feel freed up.
Yeah, so that's new.
That is good. I'm going to
Really
add some
good.
spatters to mine.
Oh,
Okay.
spatters.
So I'm just going to use
Spatters were-
some of the real watery, whatever colors you like. And I know I want some down here. Maybe some up there. And on this one, I know I want some up here. I'm just letting the spatters fly. And maybe add one.
Oh, it's an improvement.
Mine's, I feel like it got too busy, but that's okay. Like
Yeah,
you
mine
said,
was-
it's a learning process, right?
Yeah.
Mine was too empty over there on my bad one, my extra line one. So I'm liking the splatters today.
Yeah.
I-
Actually, the
Yeah.
one I didn't care for to begin with, I'm actually with the splatters, it looks celestial,
yeah,
Oh,
it
nice.
does. Yeah.
in outer space.
Yes. That works. That helped.
Yeah.
But you're right, it doesn't always, but on this one it helped.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fun. I like
Yeah.
the one that looks like a shell down in the bottom of your red.
Oh, yeah. I was
Uh-huh.
trying to make shell shapes with the pen, but I
Oh,
don't think I succeeded, but
You did
that's okay.
succeed. I immediately saw a shell.
yeah, with the pen, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
It could be that I add more pen to this later after the spatters. So what I did, and you can think about this too, like I outlined some of the spatters
Oh,
later on.
Yeah.
If you find some that you want to make like into bigger shapes, you can do that. So,
Nice.
if you let it dry and it's still not kind of what you want.
you might be able to play games with that place where the line is and
Mm-hmm.
do
Mhm.
something that makes me happier about it.
Yeah.
I'm just happy I learned this technique and I could do more paintings like this. I feel
Mhm.
now that I've got a new skill in my toolbox. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm really pleased with the end result. And
Great.
Yeah, I
yeah,
like this one. Whoops. The spatters are wet. I can't hold it up. Oh,
I think this is my end. I like this one the best.
Nice. Yeah, the composition is really good. Very nice and balanced. I love your choice of colors.
Yeah, they've been hanging around since I did that split complementary color chart.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate mixing colors. It's just like my least favorite thing to do. And when after I did it and I had these colors, I have these little bowls that I put colors in.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to wash it away, and I really am pleased I saved it. They're nice
Yeah.
colors.
Good idea. All right. Well, I'm going to
Thank you so much once again.
stop sharing here. Yeah, thank you. This was a really fun class. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me
It's nice
too.
to just kind of play around. And
Thank
we
you.
were actually, making paintings.
you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something with these.
Say that again.
I am going, am I okay? I am
Yeah.
going to do something with these.
Oh,
And I
great.
also feel like I have the skill to do, a
Mhm.
finished one as a gift. I feel like I
Nice.
could do that. And I went into this class thinking, boy, I sure need to know how to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was really fun. So,
Yeah.
as per usual, I did write up a sort of step by step. It's more of a guideline and
Oh,
what we
good.
talked about as far as like abstract painting,
Mhm.
and then just the process we went through.
Thank you.
And I'll send out the recording
Thank you.
later on after it's edited.
Thanks.
Thank you so much,
And I, and,
Catherine.
and I
Yeah,
need a and I need a flower wreath, please.
flower wreath. Okay,
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Are we
I
putting in
lost.
requests?
say that again.
Are we putting in requests?
No, this was the class that we took and I
Oh, the
absolutely
YouTube video.
lost.
Okay, gotcha.
Do you have requests? I know you wanted the fox. I have that on my list.
Fox and
Anything
a
else?
rabbit.
Oh,
A ra-
rabbit. I forgot about the rabbit.
not a bunny, but a rabbit.
Rabbit. Okay.
Yeah.
What Duryur, what was his name? The guy who did a printing, the first etching of a rabbit.
Oh, yeah.
Duryur,
Mhm.
something.
Gee,
Dur-
where'd my art history go?
I know.
I sometimes I joke with my son. I said, "Honey, I've learned more and forgot more than you'll probably ever know. At least until you get to my age."
Right.
Thank
This has
you
been
so much.
wonderful. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend
Yeah.
and I'll see you soon.
See you in the next class.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.